I had just moved into my first apartment. It was around 8:30 p.m. and I heard the doorknob moving like someone was putting a key in it and turning and knocking. At first, I got really excited that my boyfriend was home, but then I realized it was only 8:30 and he was due home from work around 10:30. So I looked out the kitchen window and didn't see his car or anyone's car. I had known parked outside. That's when I panicked. The doorknob kept moving for a few more seconds and then stopped. My mind was racing with endless possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. Was it an intruder trying to force their way in? Or perhaps a neighbor who had mistaken my apartment for their own? After some time, I took a deep breath and gathered the courage to open the door. I opened the door, but there was nobody outside. The road outside my home was empty and quiet, which made me even more scared. I left the apartment the next day as I knew I will never be able to sleep. In the fall of 2016, I moved into a very old house. It was built in the 1880s. The owners turned it into a weird 2-story house. My friend lived there right before I moved in, and he said it was haunted, but I didn't really believe him because he was a strange person. The layout of the house was weird. You walk through the door and find yourself in a living room type space. Then you keep going and there's a door that leads into the bedroom. And beyond that is the kitchen. There are no doors, just a door inside the apartment leading to the bathroom and another door leading down to the shared basement. My first night there was uneventful. I was a little uncomfortable because I haven't lived alone for a long time. I just felt lonely and worried. I stayed up late and eventually fell asleep, but woke up around 3 a.m. What woke me up was what sounded like a group of drummers drumming on every flat surface of the living room. This went on for a while and I was completely terrified. It was just a cacophony of sounds. About 2 or 3 minutes later, I finally got up to check. As soon as I entered through the living room door, it stopped. Nothing happened the rest of the night, but I didn't sleep much. A few days later, a friend came to visit and he was about to leave. We were standing next to the front door, next to the bookshelf, and I told him how I was having trouble sleeping and the story of the first night. As I was saying this, a book fell off the shelf and onto the floor 3 feet away. It landed between the two of us. He just looked at me really scared and said he had to go, and to be honest, I don't blame him. Eventually, I asked the person on the other side what was going on because he had lived there for 8 years. He told me that no one stayed longer than a year, and they all reported the same things. For some reason, he said nothing had ever happened to him. It doesn't make any sense, but there it is. When I was about 13, I spent the night over at my cousin's house. We were home alone for the night and stayed up late playing video games. I remember he left the room to use the restroom. I must have been playing something good because I was sitting on the edge of the bed up close to the TV. As I played by myself, I felt my cousin came back in the room from behind me and he laid back down on the bed, giving me a little bounce as if he had jumped on the bed. When I turned back to talk to him, he wasn't there. He was still in the restroom. I looked down on the bed where I thought I had felt him. There was an imprint on the bed coming back up, like if someone had been there and were just coming off of it. It was as if an invisible presence had momentarily occupied the space before swiftly departing. I started to think if my mind was playing tricks on me, or was there really something supernatural about it? I have far more stories about that house, but that's definitely one time I felt the most shaken. I was watching TV on the couch with my dog around noon or so. Suddenly she perks up, the hair on her back stands on end, and she begins snarling at the corner of the room. This dog, who was a previous abuse victim and scared of her own shadow, hesitant to ever bark or attack, was in a position to lunge. Right at that moment, I hear clear, defined footsteps walk from my roommate's room across the hall, right in my line of vision. No one is there, but I'm looking directly at the source of the sound. The echoes of the footsteps, as well as the reaction of my dog, made me feel terrified. The dog is on the defensive, but her tail is tucked between her legs at the same time. Immediately following this, the room got really cold for a few seconds, and it took her a while to lay back down. I have never had any other paranormal experiences in that house or really ever in my life. The suddenness of it really freaked me out.